Hello, and welcome to this special Christmas episode of Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 23 of Chobits. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Chi and Hideki played a pretty significant role in helping Yumi and Mr. Ueda come to terms and resolve whatever hurdles stood in the way of their romance. And now for this penultimate episode, with a name like Chi Decides, I feel like she's gonna come to a pretty significant decision on, the person only for her, as it were. And the last episode sort of ended off with this indication that Chi might have already decided, and that those two people, who were in all likelihood related to the syndicate, whatever it is, they have decided now is the time to move in. So, at this point in time, we really don't know their full motivation, but whatever it is, I can't say I'm optimistic as to what it is. The idea is that they were the ones, maybe not the two agents we see in specifics, but the syndicate are the ones who commissioned Chi to be made. So, maybe they want to collect on their commission. But I'm not entirely sure that that's the case either, because they do seem to be rather tuned in to what's going on with Chi and sort of subtly helping. They helped Hideki find her by broadcasting that map. So, maybe they just want to see, for want of a better term, the prophecy fulfill itself. It's not strictly a prophecy in that, no fortune teller has decreed it to be so, but, the idea that Chi needs to find the person only for her and, stick with him, otherwise she has to move on, it seems like the syndicate is somewhat invested in that. And okay, so the landlord is really cutting it short, I guess, by delivering this book. So I'm wondering, how much is this newest book ripped from the headlines, so to speak? Because, it seems to be Chi's watching people holding hands and now she's sad, but ooh. Yeah, that little overlay of voices, that makes me wonder if this dormant personality is sort of, coming to the fore. So that picture is certainly something, because that definitely depicts Chi and, the other personality based on appearances. Because, that other sort of subroutine within Chi, Chi tends to wear dark clothing, whereas Chi doesn't, so Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. Yeah, so I guess at this point this is basically confirmation, you know? Chi may or may not be a Persicom, but if she isn't, she might as well be for all intents and purposes. So, wow. Imagine the audacity of this guy after kidnapping Chi. Yeah. Hideki's got the right approach. He should knock this guy's block off. Like, saying, like, ooh, a Persicom like Chi is wasted on you. Like, man, you know, like, everybody's looking at him like, dude, what are you doing? But I think that's the right approach. Like, this guy's overstepped his boundaries quite a few times. And I feel like, you know, maybe, like, a little reminder of the pecking order is, warranted. So these two, if I recall, they were sort of like referring to themselves as Persicoms. So, like, I don't know. I find it interesting that the Syndicate would send Persicoms to do work for them, unless they themselves were, I guess, interested in Chi and what she's doing. Yeah, okay. Ooh. Okay, so maybe Chi really is a weapon. Like, the guy's saying he's a database of all Persicoms and that the girl is, like, a bodyguard and they need to prevent Chi from activating her true programming. Like, you know, I've been thinking that, you know, there's sort of like a little bit of an Iron Giant undertone here in that, you know, the robot in question might be a weapon. Huh. So, that's interesting, that Chi's programming ultimately might just make Persicoms happy. Whatever that means. Alright, so that's interesting. You know, maybe Chi isn't strictly a weapon, but what constitutes happiness for Chi and other Persicoms might not be conducive with humanity. You know, computers are real dangerous that way. They do what you tell them to do, not what you want them to do. But I guess it's kind of nice to see that I'm a little bit vindicated on my Iron Giant schizo theory. And, I guess I hope I'm more correct than I originally intended, because in the Iron Giant, like, you know, the main character, the kid, ultimately, like, brings the Iron Giant back away from his weaponized personality. And, you know, if things were to go wrong with Chi, I think, if anyone were to snap her out of it as before, it would be Hideki. Well, that's a hint there. Yumi saying, like, hey, look, take good care of Chi. I don't think you need to tell Hideki twice, much less once. But, ooh. So he's a little concerned, like, the idea that she might be a Chobits. I feel like there's not much bearing on his day-to-day life that would have, you know, like, you would treat her as you always have, I imagine. Because, like, the idea is she's displayed a capability to learn and grow and all that. Like, that's already sort of different from Persicoms as a whole. I feel like, you just keep operating business as usual. Now, Shinbo's asking the tough questions here, like, do you love Chi, yes or no? And the answer at this point is, I don't know, which, I don't know, that's not a good answer. I feel like the answer should be yes, but not necessarily romantically at this point. Because, like, not to, like, go off on a big tangent, but, like, the ancient Greeks had a bunch of words for love, and they all had sort of, like, distinct meanings, meaning, like, familial love, romantic love, stuff like that. Like, based off of how Hideki acts, I think it is fairly uncontroversial to say that he does indeed love Chi. And I'd even go as far as to say, like, romantically too. You know, he's just not quite willing to admit it yet. Alright, so Shinbo's touching on something important here. You know, like, loving persocoms isn't the bad thing, it's taking real people for granted that is. You know, like, say to the point where you forget your wife exists and you lock her out. Ooh. So I guess it seems like this book is sort of tying in with Chi's sort of like surface personality and like her inner programming. I can't help but imagine that this is deliberate to try and sort of like bring out whatever's hidden. You know, that's another thing. Like, Shinbo should probably, like, take Sumomo back, seeing as how, she's his property. And I guess that's the other thing. Like, Hideki's just sort of hanging on to that other little mini persocom. I feel like maybe he should give her back to her proper owner. Man, that's something, like, you know, Shinbo telling Hideki, like, make sure you take the time to talk with Chi properly. And I guess, like, you do have to have this conversation, but it need not be a highly uncomfortable conversation. I feel like, well, I don't know, because you would have to, like, sort of talk down to her a little bit, or at least talk on her level. Like, you probably would have to explain a few concepts here or there. And you know, if he's just like sitting here vacillating about how he feels, like this is probably a bit disconcerting for Chi. Like, naturally she understands that something's not quite right here, but she doesn't necessarily have the capacity to understand exactly what. Which, like, that's gotta be pretty endearing. It's like, you know, are you hurt? What's going on? But, man. And I guess it's rather unfortunate that Hideki doesn't have an explanation for what's going on either, because, like, that's not gonna make things any easier. Interesting. So, the idea that, like, this hug coincides with, something else going on here. You know, I'm wondering if this is coincidental or if this is a direct result. Ooh. So it's interesting that one of the agents is willing to intervene now. Ooh. Okay, so there's a lot of conflicting things going on because, like, obviously the one agent is sort of acting on her own, maybe even above her capacity, but the idea is that the other agent, like, he sort of wants everyone to be happy, but it seems to me that there are conflicting goals here. Now, unfortunately, Hideki seems to have made the wrong choice by just, like, leaving. Like, he's not going out for a walk or anything, but leaving the apartment, like, that's probably the wrong thing to do without an explanation or something. So, okay, so now the landlord is explaining, like, okay, I know a bunch of stuff about Chi, I'm gonna spill the beans here. Wow. So she's got, like, a secret switch under the light switch. Like, that's something. You know, I'd imagine for Hideki that this is, like, something out of, like, Star Trek or something, going down into this computer dungeon basement. Like, it's so far beyond the other technology we've seen for the most part. And more to the point here, it's like there are all these pictures of Chi. So I guess, oh. So I guess, so she had a name, Elda. And I guess there's also Freya. So, I guess there are two of them. Yeah, okay. Ooh. So it's interesting that they were made essentially as surrogate children, which, like... This is already sort of an iffy thing, 'cause it's like when you can't have kids, you make your own. Like, that's kind of a dangerous thing, creating life and all that. Like, I understand why you would do it, it's a human impulse, but I feel like that's something you sort of have to, like, keep in check. Now, it seems like based off of what we're initially being told, Freya is a lot like Chi is now. So, if Chi is the one that's still around, like, what's the deal with Freya here? Like, she was programmed to fall in love. Ooh. You know, I don't think it's called an Oedipus complex necessarily, but, like, it's certainly similar. Like, Freya to have fallen in love with her own, you know, father. And I guess the idea is that Chi was built in response to this melancholy so that Freya would have a companion. Which, that's nice and all, but I feel like that doesn't solve existential problems, you know? Okay. So Freya has, like, the understanding of what love is, but, you know, not being able to act on it or anything like that, like... So, it's kind of implicit here. It's unclear whether she suffered, like, a hardware failure or if she, you know, took, like, a proverbial toaster bath. Ooh. Yeah, so there's all sorts of unfortunate things where it's like, to remedy the problem, you might, like, erase her memories, but that's, in effect, killing her. Man. So, I guess ultimately, some people wanted to get rid of Elda to avoid the same fate. Alright, so this was all set up, essentially. She was reformatted, you know, memory wiped and all that. I don't know why she was dumped in the trash, however. And I guess, like, this danger isn't unfounded either. You know, the landlord is saying, like, yeah, she is dangerous. She's not saying why, tellingly, but, like, now things are up to Hideki, like... It seems like it's up to him to prevent things from going wrong. It's not clear, well, I guess it is kind of clear how he should go about it. But, what the danger is unclear. Yeah, you know what? Like, I think it is correct that Persicums should probably have the ability to find happiness, but, like... I don't know. There's something in my mind where... You shouldn't necessarily create something that can feel if you can't also, like, set it up for success, you know? Like, creation belongs to the realm of the divine. Like, that's not something man should be messing with, I don't think. But I guess now that we know a bunch of this stuff, I'm wondering if this is Freya talking to Chi. Because, like, that would explain a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's some sort of, like, latent memory. Or even maybe, like, programming beyond that. Ooh. Okay, yeah, no, this is definitely like a shade of Freya reflected in the glass, like... So I guess happiness now hinges on Hideki's answer, right? You know, it's rather unfortunate that, from G's perspective, this is all sort of very passive, where she's hoping that she finds the right person and that person returns her feelings. Like, I mean, I guess just from my perspective, it's better to take an active approach to things. Ooh, boy. You know, but if you can't find me, and then Hideki enters. Masterful. Oh, boy. So I'm wondering here, like, if Hideki, like, gets involved here and, like, says the right thing, like, will that suppress Freya, or what's the deal here? Because, like, it seems like she's not actively controlling things, so to speak. Oh boy, Hideki. It's time to answer the question. There's no squirming out of it now, man. Oh, and I guess, yeah, that programming's going off now. Whatever it is, an EMP or what have you. So I guess I'm wondering, like, if Hideki gives the proper answer, like, does this prevent it from happening? Man, you know, it is really unsettling to see all these persicoms affected in such a way. I guess it's made more unsettling given how human-like they are, but, like, it's no different from a computer just turning off, I suppose. Oh, come on, you can't even answer the question. And with the ominous organ music in the background, no less. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. Merry Christmas, Space Cowboy.